Welcome back to episode 2 for tonight. In my last episode, I discussed what you should and shouldn't do if you become the head of HR for a professional basketball team. In this episode, we'll discuss what you should and shouldn't do if you are the chief legal counsel, basically the internal attorney for a basketball team. So, say someone like myself files a lawsuit for wrongful termination, discrimination, retaliation. There's a lot of things going on right now. And I feel like by the end of this, it's also going to include a lawsuit for libel, slander, and defamation of character because of how poorly they've handled this since it all started in 2023. So, if you find yourself at the pinnacle of your career and you have become the in-house chief legal counsel for a professional basketball team, amazing. But if a complaint from the EEOC comes in or the Attorney General's office comes in, all of the documentation that I talked about in that first episode is the documentation that you should request and round up and submit to said governing body. What you should not do is sit down with the person that wrongfully terminated you and create a 3-page document full of lies that are now in writing to where someone like me could follow up with libel, slander, and defamation of character. For example, what you should not do is say that you did a thorough investigation into what occurred, but supply no documentation about said thorough investigation. Now, in this case, Miss Melissa, who used to be their internal counsel, when my complaint got to the EEOC and the Attorney General's office, do you think that between Miss Kimberly or Miss Melissa, that either one of them turned in any documentation at all that was substantive, that had timestamps on it, that had signatures on it? Because what I have not told you is when I got put on a PIP, I was like, you have got to be joking me. What is this? I never got an explanation for why I was put on a performance improvement plan, and I certainly never signed it. And if you also feel like you were being retaliated against, do not sign that paperwork. And so for them, it is questionable that you are trying to say that you put me on a performance improvement plan for specific reasons, but you don't have a signature on that performance improvement plan, nor any of the documentation that I discussed in the last video. If you are also the chief counsel, internal counsel for a professional basketball team, you should also make sure that everything that you put in writing is actual and factual and can be substantiated with actual documentation. You don't sit down with the person that the complaint is against and just completely write up 3 pages of lies and slander and defamation. That is what you definitely should not do. I'm pretty sure if you were to go to law school and in your first couple of years working as a lawyer, I'm pretty sure there is not a single soul that will tell you to do any of those things. But instead of doing any due diligence, she said that a thorough investigation was completed and that they found me and my behavior to be detrimental to the team and the organization. But to date, they have not been able to submit any documentation to back that up. So again, when you find yourself in legal proceedings, you shouldn't lie. I feel like that's rule number 1 in a lot of places, especially when it comes to being an attorney. And if you're going to say that you did a thorough investigation, at some point in the last 3 years, as this has gone through litigation, you should be able to turn in something that looks remotely similar to a thorough investigation. There should be videotape of the incident if it was so serious. Why is there no videotape of this? There should be emails, multiple emails, including documentation for the performance improvement plan. Why do you not have any of these things? But instead of taking this seriously at any point in time, you just continue to waste people's time, which, whether you are the head of HR or the chief legal counsel, one of your main responsibilities when you're in those roles is to mitigate risks and damages. And between Miss Kimberly and Miss Melissa, these 2 females haven't done anything to mitigate any risk or damages for this organization. Instead, both of them have created quite the mess.